Fellow Congress and officials, I am here to speak on the behalf of matters regarding the potential legislation for San Francisco's water supply by damming the Hetch Hetchy Valley. From an objective standpoint, I understand the concern for water quality and supply for a population as large as that of San Francisco. However, it is wrong in kind to dispel the worries and concerns of so-called nature lovers in favor of a great city. Furthermore, I don't really believe that altering the landscape of the Hetch Hetchy Valley will have the desired effects the city thinks it will. That is to say that I do not believe erecting a dam in Hetch Hetchy Valley is the best solution to addressing the water shortage in San Francisco. In Report Number 41 from 63rd Congress's first session, Mr. Reeker proposes a bill that grants certain rights to San Francisco to infiltrate public lands like Yosemite National Park and Stanislaus National Park for other purposes. These other purposes wind up being related to the water shortage. While there is an urgent need for adequate water sources within the area, more than once it has been declared that invasion of the Hetch Hetchy is completely unnecessary. In a letter to Jacob H. Gallinger, a statement is made that Hetch Hetchy's invasion is wholly unnecessary according to engineers, as abundance of pure water is available in other locations that aren't public national parks. Now, people may argue that these people are nature lovers threatening the order of things, but I believe that if there are other water sources available, why not use those? It all comes down to power and money, in my opinion. San Francisco doesn't desire to spend money on water when they own 3/4 of the land surrounding the Hetch Hetchy and would rather receive special permissions to destroy it. Had there been no other accessible water resources, I would be inclined to agree with the construction of a dam. Interestingly, the Hypatia Women's Club of San Francisco outlines in their petition for the dam's construction that San Francisco has no other available pure water supply that is sufficient. There are other pure water options available from other states and regions, but San Francisco doesn't appear to desire a budget for that. It's cutting corners and trying to access a large quantity of resources at a cheaper expense, a problem exemplified by capitalism. How is it so widely known that there are no other pure water options available? It isn't. It's a ploy to make people believe that, so they support the construction of the dam from where I stand on the matter. This same club also makes the claim that people will not be visiting the Yosemite National Park a lot due to the landscape of cliffs, mountains, and lakes that are inaccessible. This is also untrue. Just the same as there are people who will see a point to visiting a national park for those reasons, there will be people who don't understand it. They also go on to call nature lovers irrational and unjust for wanting to protect the valley. That question should instead be directed towards officials in government in regards to their lack of allocated funds for proper water resources. It isn't nature lovers or the Hetch Hetchy Valley that poses as a villain for the San Francisco citizen. It is the organizations and officials that have the financial ability to enact change but choose not to. Representatives from the American Scenic and Historic Preservation Society claim that official representatives for San Francisco have admitted they could get a supply anywhere along the Sierra if it would pay for it. There is no sufficient evidence to support that this couldn't be done other than in the interests of saving money. They see what is happening here. Water is being used as power for the city, or a means of power. There is another written petition to Washington, D.C. that talks about how San Francisco can't afford to pay for water due to financial burden of restoring public buildings and works destroyed in the fire of 1906. It is not the fault of nature lovers that the government of California had no fallback plan if something like this were to happen. There should have been an allocated fund source in case of an emergency to provide relief in times of crisis for San Francisco. It is with utmost respect that I implore you to consider this argument before proceeding any further. I do not believe that damaging the Hetch Hetchy Valley is the way to go. I thank you for your time.